Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Welcome back to our Q&A session hosted by Al-Salam Institute with Shaykh Akram Nadwi. This Q&A is usually every Thursday, 6 p.m. UK time, inshallah. For those of you who didn't know, we took a 1 week break because Shaykh Akram was traveling. Alhamdulillah, we're back. You may have also noticed the time is a little bit different. So anyone in the UK, this is still 6 p.m. for us. But for other people, this may be an hour earlier than you're used to. So maybe just reset your clocks in terms of the Q&A, inshallah. Our time has moved 1 hour back. This Q&A is 30 minutes long, inshallah. So without any further ado, I know we don't have a lot of time to do this. We will get started, inshallah. And Sheikh, I want to start with a question that I think we had the last session as one I wanted to take by Sister Nuria. And she's asking, Assalamu alaikum, can you please explain the concept of obedience to the husband in the circumstances where the wife is educated and wants to share decision making and be a partner in the relationship?
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. One thing we have to keep in mind that there is no absolute obedience to anyone in the religion except for Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who must be obeyed. Whenever He commands, He must be obeyed absolutely, without any condition. People are His slaves. They are made by Him, owned by Him. After Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is nobody. Even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had limits. He could not impose on people everything. So, there are things where the companions ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it becomes very clear that, his commands are related about the life of the believers, the Muslim, but many other things like their family life and all those things, they don't have to obey the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So like Sa'id Musayyib, his grandfather Hazn was a believer. He was unbeliever, then became Muslim, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, Hazn is a very rough name. So can you change it to Sahl? So he said, I don't want to change a name that is given to me by my parents. So you see, he did not obey, but the Prophet did not mind. And there are many cases like that where the people in their daily life, and the Prophet knew that the people have choice to do whatever they like. Similarly, parents, after the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the parents have more right, but even the parents don't have right to impose everything. So there are cases where the Prophet said the father has no right to force his daughter to marry whoever he wants. She should be free to choose whoever he wants. Similarly, the wives, the husbands don't have any absolute right over the wives, to command them to do whatever they like. No, it is all actually is a family life. When they raise the children and something like that. So there it should be mutual, understanding. And if the differences happen, then somebody be like a boss, because husband is the one who provides accommodation expenses, so he has to make final decision. But it is very limited about the family. But what to eat, what to drink, who to meet, who will friend, which madhab to follow, how to pray, all those things, whether to meet your parent, not to meet your parent. All these things in the life, it's free. You don't need to, husband have no right to impose on their wives all these matters. It's only when they raise matter, the raising children comes or something like that. Then if the differences happen, then one of them, because if you don't make a decision, then you can't do. So like a husband, wife said, I'm going to marry my daughter on Friday, and husband says, I'm going to marry on Sunday, and they can't solve the problem. So we have to make one decision. So in those cases, husband will decide, because the reason I said, but only these matters. And Islam advises people to do things with understanding properly. But anyway, but what happens nowadays is that people think, husbands think that they can impose on their wives anything they want. So this is not right. There is no absolute obedience for anyone, this religion.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh. I want to ask a few follow-up questions to this, but maybe we'll come back to this, inshallah, and we'll take some of the questions we have here. We have a question about Hajj and the reward, but I'm certain we discussed this in length in the last session. Okay, but we have a question from Abdul Ahad. He's saying, why is the phrase وَمَا كَانَ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ constantly mentioned for Ibrahim alayhi salam? Was there any doubt of this, or was it for the emphasis?
No, no, it is not like that really, because every group claims that Ibrahim is from them. Jews say Ibrahim belongs to Judah, Jews and Christians believe. Christians claim that Ibrahim belongs to Christians, and Meccan people used to believe that and claim actually that he belongs to them. So Quran says, "Ma kan Ibrahim Yahudiyan wala Nasraniya." Ibrahim was not a Jew, and neither Christian, and he was not from Mushrikeen. Mushrikeen should know that just by claim you can't make Ibrahim from yourself. Ibrahim stands for certain principles and faith and practice. If you don't have the same thing, just because you are his family, doesn't mean that you belong to him. The blood relation doesn't mean much. What matters is the faith, the belief. So that way, because Quran has come in Arabic language addressing Quraysh, so it has to make all the time clear that just because Ibrahim was your forefather, it doesn't mean that you belong to him. You do shirk and he never did any shirk, so he's not from you. That way, Quran keeps making this all the time, emphasizing.
Okay, let's get a question from Facebook. This question is from Yasin, who asked a question in the last session, if I'm not mistaken. So he's asking a follow-up. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. May Allah bless you and your family in this life and the next. A few weeks ago, I asked a question regarding teaching priorities when it comes to children. You mentioned the first thing we should focus on is nature. Do you mind expanding on what aspects of nature and how you recommend doing so?
What I meant is that people have everything, like when you have a plants, it has its nature, so how much light it needs, and how much water it needs, how much air it needs. You have to provide that. Same human being have been created with a proper nature. Nature is and you can see really, for example, when somebody does a favor upon you, you feel obliged to thank him. Otherwise feel like very bad really. So I come to your house and you respect me, receive me well, give me food and water, and then I become mean to you. So everybody will know really it is not right. Naturally, I will feel from my heart in a big pressure to thank you. So thanking for a favor is a nature, human nature. You can see. Similarly, if somebody, uh, you know, someone, hurts someone, do you feel really that, you need to console the other person, to help the other person. So there are many methods. Naturally, if people are true nature, they can know this thing. And if you want to understand your nature, look in the food. The people have developed so many cultures of different foods. But if you ask your nature will ask you just a food which can give you energy and health. That's enough. The people add many things. So that I'm trying to say, like, your children, for example, they need to play sports because they want. So why they want to play? What the reason is? Because, it helps them, to build their body, to become stronger, and develop friendship and so much, because when people play with each other, they develop friendship. They know when you are angry what happens, when you lose, how to deal with that, when you win, how to behave. So in the sports, you come with all those things: winning sometimes losing, sometimes your friends there, sometimes your enemies are there, sometimes you're strong, sometimes weak. So you have to go through all the conditions that the sports teach you. But now people have developed those sports which are electronic, where you don't meet anybody, just do on yourself. So you don't experience all these anger, friendship, love, and all those things. So people are raised in an artificial way. And similarly, in the past, when people used to come, you host them. When you go somewhere, they host you. And now these things are finishing. People don't host anybody, nothing. So nobody learns anything. That's why I mean really natural environment. Then in the past, you used to see what Allah has created: the mountains, the river, the sky, the moon, and the sun. And so you see how Allah has. But now most people are interested in what people have made. They want to go and see those things. everything made by Allah anyway, but these things are more actually human color. So you praise the human being. Uh, so if people start coming to their nature, then mind will be very clean. Then when they read the Quran, it will be more have more impact upon them, because Quran is for that mind. So emphasize on the nature and emphasize the reason. These two. So, but reason should be a reason which knows the nature. Otherwise, people who follow culture, they also have a reason. So people will say that my culture is the best one. Why they say? Because they love it, but it's not rational. So people don't follow reason most of the time. They call it rational thing, but not rational thinking. It is just a desire they expect. So finding out the nature is very, very important. Like eating, you just your child ask to eat to any food and just give him. But think really, what is good food for your child? Anything sweet he wants, all these fast food he wants, where there's so much salt, because they're tasty, and you give him because he wants that. But that's not natural upbringing. Nature is think which food is good for him, for his health, because he's going to live here. So what makes him better human being is stronger, and stronger in the mind and physically. So you have to look after that. Sometimes maybe uh, more natural foods like cucumber, fruits, and carrots, and all they'll be much better. Even if the people don't like them, they are much better for the people. So you have to make your children to be raised on those. So that's why I meant, finding your nature is not difficult. You need to think, and you'll find it. And everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made, good, it always depends on thinking. So when you think, you can find. Otherwise, easy thing to follow culture. Like, when you get up in the morning for, and you want to have breakfast, you go to kitchen and you find easy things, some cereal or something like that, and just you take and go for your work because you don't have time. But that's not natural breakfast. You have to think in the morning, that what is good for me, what is good for my health, what can give me energy, and then you go for that. Don't go for anything which is just easily accessible. So people are lazy and people don't want to think, don't want to understand. That why the health is ruined and thinking is wrong. All these things. So nature is the best help for the people to raise your children on the right nature, and yourself actually. Everybody should think about their own nature.
Okay, inshallah, we are going to take a question from Sister Soraya. This question is quite serious, and I think maybe it does require more time. But she's asking, in regards to when a wife wants to divorce her husband because he's been very, very physically abusive. What is an easier process if every mosque or council she goes to is always just trying to impose them reconciling and aren't taking the abuse seriously?
You know, separation between husband and wife, there are three different ways. The first one is the husband divorces the wife. If that does not happen, then second, that is called talaq. If the husband does not give talaq or divorce, then second option for the wife is khula. Khula means that husband says, give me, my mahr back, and I leave you. Separation can happen. He agrees for separation, but he wants some money. Though it is very mean, but anyway, some people are like that. And then when they agree, so some elderly people of the family, they can involve and khula can happen. They decide, don't need to go to Sharia court or something like that. If husband agrees to take some money, they can happen. But if he does not want to divorce, he does not want to do khula, then going to a Sharia court anywhere is, not helpful. Then the way in Islam is, third thing is the fasq. So the first is talaq, divorce, second is khula, and the third one is fasq. Fasq means then involve the authority of the country, and they listen to the case, and then they cancel the marriage. That marriage will be cancelled. So in this country, you go to the British court. You go there and appeal there, and put your case forward. Judges will look in every condition, and then after that they cancel the marriage. That fasq. Then after the fasq, you spend your iddah waiting period, and then you are free to marry whoever you like, and he's free to do whatever like. So this is the fasq. So in the fasq, I have been giving fatwa for a long time, that the people should go to the court of the country where they live. Some people will say to you that, how can a Muslim go to non-Muslim court? So there, if the Muslims live in non-Muslim country, how can they go to Muslim court anyway? And all the Sharia courts, they don't have any power to enforce. So for example, if the Sharia court decides the husband should leave you, but does not leave, they can't do anything because they don't have any force. The only thing which can impose on the people is the authority, the power of the state. And I also think, I'm really shocked that all the people force women that they go to Sharia court. But when men dispute, they go to the country of the court of the country. All these big madrasas in India, Deoband, Mazahir Loom, and other, they had disputes, two party fighting for the madrasa. They didn't go to Sharia court, they went to Indian court. Even in this country, when the ulama fight, they don't go to Sharia court, they go to British court. Anybody, when they fight, dispute cannot be resolved by mosque. Even mosques, when they fight, where they go? Nearly every mosque in UK has got a case. Do they go to a mosque, Sharia court? No. They go to British court, to the court of the country. So I don't understand why people are forcing only women to go to Sharia court. So when you have dispute, the only thing can solve the problem is going to the court of the country. So if divorce does not happen, if khula does not happen, the third option is fasq. And fasq only can happen with the court which has the power to enforce. If the court cannot enforce, it's not a court. It is like fatwa, So you say Sharia court. Sharia court is not a court because it does not have power to enforce. It cannot enforce anything. And that's why even ulama don't go there. They go to the court of the country. To understand this properly, I explained to the people so many times that women, when they have dispute with their husbands and the husbands don't divorce and don't agree for the khula, then the women should go to the court of the country, and that is absolutely fine. And when I gave this fatwa to some people in UK and also in America, sometimes actually even before the women went to the court, the husbands made effort to reconcile because now they know seriously they're in trouble, so they want to reconcile. Before they don't want any khula anything, but once they know the wife is serious and she's going to the court, they want to reconcile. Same in India, I've seen cases when the husband realized that wife will go to the court, they want to settle the matter before going to the court. But if you don't go to the court, they're never going to listen to you. Always problem, all those things. So I have been giving this advice for a long time, and I think this is what the best is for women. And don't worry when people say, no, you must go to Sharia court, because court means an authority which can enforce, and the Sharia court have no authority to enforce anything.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh. We will move on to a question from YouTube. This question is much more light-hearted, but it would be nice to hear, Sheikh. This question is, please tell us something about your recent journey to Bangladesh. How was your experience?
Yeah, Alhamdulillah, I have been to Bangladesh actually a long time ago, 37 years back in 1985, to Tablighi Ijtima in near Dhaka in a place called Tongi. It was very, very big. I'm going to write about that as well because I want to make a full book on my traveling for Bangladesh. This time I was invited to by university, International Islamic University in Chittagong. They had their Jubilee, Silver Jubilee celebration. And I went to different cities, and I was really, impressed by the welcome the people made. Everywhere so much reception and respect and love, and people from far, they came to meet me, and there are so many people studying with me. So I never knew really that so many people they knew me, and also some of books have been translated to Bengali language, like my Muhaddithat, Madrasa Life, and doing some other things as well. So so many people knew me that I never thought. But anyway, so this was really, and also I found really Bangladesh, is much more, advanced than many people think. People they are more keen to learn and study, and they're much more serious. and and especially the students in the universities, they really want to know about the religion and Islam, much more intellectually. So they are quite clever, and they're very clever people. When they discuss you, when you talk, they talk to you. They're very clever. In this university where they invited me, it was there's Jubilee, and the most guests Arabs. They don't know much about Bangladesh, so they thank them and they said something good. So then when they asked me to give a talk, I reminded the people about the history of Bangladesh and how it was how was its past, many madrasas and hadith and all those things. So I shed light on their past. The people liked it very much, and then after that the speakers started referring to my speech and those points. So anyway, as a whole, really, it was a good experience. I really was very impressed by the welcome and hope, inshallah. And the university has asked me to come again. And I gave few lectures on hadith and authenticity, which was received very well, some interviews as well. And they want me to come back again for teaching and some courses. I don't know when I will be able to go because so much busy. But certainly, I'll say Bangladesh is moving in a better direction, and Muslims from all over the world, they should support them and encourage them more and more. Actually, people should follow in their footsteps. They really are very keen for the knowledge. So I don't think I can say much. Actually, every day I'm writing anyway. People who know Arabic, they can read all these articles. Every day, whatever happened, I wrote with my all feelings and whatever I thought. So it all there written.
So, Sheikh, how long were you there for?
Yeah, the trip was all 1 week. I stayed 2 days in Dubai. So there were some meetings and some talks in Dubai. Then I went to Bangladesh. Bangladesh 5 days.
Okay, Alhamdulillah, you came back yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, Alhamdulillah. For those who aren't aware, Sheikh actually has a Telegram channel which he updates usually daily, Sheikh, right? So
Happened. You put here.
yes, definitely. So and Sheikh has his own Facebook page too. So if anyone wants to keep up to date with anything that Sheikh is doing, especially if you can maybe read and speak Urdu or Arabic, I really recommend. Or maybe if you want to practice your Urdu or Arabic. Okay, inshallah. Let's move on to a question from Fahim Khan, who is asking, what is the reconciliation between Surah 12:1, so the first verse of Surah Yusuf, in which the Quran says it is clear, and from Surah Ali Imran, the 7th verse, which says there are some verses which are clear and some which are ambiguous?
No, the Quran is actually clear for the guidance, for the purpose that it has come. So that's the Quran. One of the things about the Quran is the Kitabul Mubin. It makes everything clear. So that's the main thing understand. Everything the Quran is very, very clear. Does not leave any ambiguity. Whatever people need to learn, it's all there for guidance purpose. But certainly, Quran also talks about those matters which are beyond human comprehension because they belong to the next world of Allah's attributes. So those things you only can know from the words, something little bit. The full thing you cannot know. That's never meant to be know. So they don't harm your guidance. So they're clear, but the problem is not in clarity. The problem is like for example, I write a clear book, on Hadith sciences, and somebody studying in the primary school give the book, they will not understand anything, and then they start using me. Oh, you see, you wrote that is a very clear book and I don't understand anything. But the reason he did not understand because his level is very low. Once he studies more and more, one day will happen when my book will make sense to him. So similarly, when Quran talks about this world, about what people need to do, yeah, they understand fully. But and they appreciate its clarity. But when Quran talks about the next world, they have not experienced that one. So the language is very clear, and what Quran talks is very clear, but we are unable to comprehend. Reason is because we never experienced something like that. So one day, when will be in the day hereafter, yeah, things will become much more clear to us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala attributes, nobody can comprehend anyway. Allah is unlimited. So even in the day of judgment, people will know Allah, little bit, at least more than here, but you never can comprehend him. So the problem when Quran says there are things mutashabihat, meaning is those verses where the words are from this word, but realities are from other words. Mutashabihat means the similar. So when Quran, if you know, for example, there will be apple in the day of in paradise, and there are apple here. So they only share the word apple, but truth really the apple there will be so huge that somebody had traveled so many hundred years to can reach, and the sweetness will be different. Nothing in the paradise has people can know, because the Quran Hadith said no eyes has seen it, no ear can heard, no one can imagine. So they are beyond our imagination. So any language cannot help. So when Quran says clarity, it means clear when you are up to the level. So, when Quran talks about this word, yeah, it is fine. But when Quran talks about the hereafter, it only words. You can't imagine unless you go there. So there's no contradiction between these two verses.
Okay, we'll try and take one more question, inshallah. We have a lot of questions we haven't gone through. But inshallah, hopefully next week we can go through them. Okay, let's take Ihsan's question. What is Islam's stance on Muslims unwillingly or unknowingly committing sins? Can one unconditionally say that Muslims who, for instance, say kufr statements without any bad intention or do other sins are forgiven for those sins since they didn't know better?
Can you show on the screen? I didn't understand the question. Can you
Yes,
show?
it's a two-part question, so I'll put the first part and then I'll put the second part. What is Islam's stance on Muslims unwillingly committing sins? Can one unconditionally say that Muslims who, for instance, say kufr statements without bad intentions or do other sins are forgiven for those sins since they didn't know any better? It's quite a long-winded question, but Sheikh, I think you probably get the gist.
They open the first part. I even did not read that first one.
No
First part.
worries. Here's the first part.
The thing is, people are only responsible for what they do and what they intend. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, the actions are, with intentions. So if somebody does not know something and, unintentionally and unwillingly says something which could be kufr, but it does not mean kufr, yeah, so nothing will happen. But if this hakak comes because of his lack of effort to understand and learn, yeah, then he could be punished for his not making effort to learn. Because maybe people don't know how to pray and they do mistakes. So yeah, it will be not so serious, but at least they will be responsible for not learning. So this could happen. But there are many cases where people actually don't know much, and Allah can forgive them. The hadith, somebody said, oh Allah, I'm your Lord and you are my slave. He was so happy, he said something like that. So Allah did not mind because, he did not mean that. His intention was something else. So when people don't mean, that's why actually we should not judge about the people. Because if they don't intend what they say, it is not so serious. Could be sometimes, wrong, but it's not so serious. And sometimes it not be mistake anyway, because they did not mean a thing like that. So we have to be very careful about the other people. And for ourselves, we have to make effort to learn if we don't know. And just not knowing is not an excuse. Ignorance is not an excuse itself. For especially those things which are obligatory upon us, like the prayer, fast, and if we have money to send zakat and hajj, these things we should learn properly. But anyway, maybe if the Hassan wants more explanation, he can ask next week with some examples. Maybe he has something in his mind about aqidah or something that, I don't know really what he means. So maybe next time if you can explain more, so I will answer inshallah.
Inshallah, that sounds good. I think we'll end it there, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh, for your time. I know you've been traveling a lot. We appreciate you making the time, alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. And likewise to everyone else, thank you for making the time, asking your questions. I know we had a bit of a break last week. Inshallah, we do plan on continuing. I will say we might be on a break next week unless, inshallah, maybe someone else can host the Q&A. So just keep an eye out for any announcements, inshallah. And again, for anyone who's not aware, Shaykh Akram is a principal of Al-Salam Institute. So we're an institute that does Arabic and Islamic sciences, you can see on the screen, and we're mainly known for our part-time courses. So for those of you who have been wanting to do an Alimiya course, have been wanting to kind of become comfortable in the Arabic language, accessing the Quran, understanding maybe just the fundamentals of the Islamic sciences, or maybe you want to complete a full Alimiya course and really excel and be advanced in them. Al-Salam allows you to do it without having to give up your job or and your full-time responsibility. So it's a part-time course every Sunday. And you can find out more on our website. It's salam.ac.uk, which hopefully will be on the screen here. We will also be launching a short course with Shaykh Akram very soon. For those of you who can't commit to our full-time courses, they've already started, so it is kind of too late now until the next academic year. But Shaykh will be holding a course very, very soon. If I'm not mistaken, it's starting in December. I won't say anything yet, but I think a lot of you will enjoy, inshallah. It's a 4-day course. We'll be launching it tomorrow, inshallah, so keep your eyes peeled. And I think we will leave it there, inshallah. We will announce on our Facebook and YouTube when we'll be back. Please come with your curiosity, come with your questions. And if you want to refer back to any previous questions, just go onto our Facebook or YouTube page and you can see the previous Q&As we've held. And we will leave it there, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.